Last month, on April 12th, a special celebration of the historic flight by cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin was commemorated. On the morning of April 12, 1961, Gagarin, then 27, flew Vostok 1 on a single orbit of the Earth. It took him 108 minutes. He launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, reached a maximum speed of about 17,500 miles per hour and an altitude of 203 miles, marking an historic event in space history 50 years ago. Yuri Gagarin joined the Russian Air Force in 1955 and graduated with honors from the Soviet Air Force Academy in 1957. Soon afterward, he became a military fighter pilot. By 1959, he'd been selected for cosmonaut training as part of the first group of USSR cosmonauts. The historic flight on April 12, 1961 was his only space mission. He was training for a second space mission when on March 27, 1968, he was killed in the crash of a MiG-15 he was piloting. This is a special anniversary of Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight around the world, but especially in Russia, where the Russian space agency Roscosmos invited the heads of 49 space agencies, including Khrushchev, to the 50th anniversary celebration in Moscow on April 12th, now known as Cosmonauts Day in Russia. We continue to track the flight of Telstar 14R into orbit on an ILS Proton rocket. Ross, tell us where the mission stands right now.
We are 14 minutes and 15 seconds into the flight. We just got a good confirmation of the start of the first burn of the Proton-M. Recall that burn takes about 4.5 minutes, and we'll hope to get a confirmation of the cutoff.
All right, we'll be waiting. Thank you, Russ. Representing satellite manufacturer Space Systems Loral on the launch team is Patrick Van Minnen, Deputy Program Director.
First of all, I'd like to thank our customer Telesat for the opportunity to work on this important satellite program. It was a pleasure working with the entire Telesat team. Telesat is a demanding customer, but they're responsive, capable, and professional, and we saw this demonstrated throughout the program, all the way from the initial proposal and spec negotiation phase, and through the design, fabrication, test, launch, and mission phases of the program. The Telstar 14R satellite is an extremely capable satellite that will double the capacity of the satellite that it replaces and provide significantly improved geographic coverage and higher power signals. The satellite has a highly flexible payload with 5 antennas and will deliver services to Brazil, continental U.S., North Atlantic Ocean region, and the Andean and South Cone regions of South America. It's built using the highly reliable, high-power Space Systems Loral 1300 bus platform with more than 15 years of design life and 12 kilowatts of end-of-life power. We at Space Systems Loral are extremely pleased to have delivered the Telstar 14R satellite in less than 24 months. Not only is this 2 months ahead of the contractual requirement, but even the contractual requirement was shorter than normal for a satellite of this complexity. There are many groups and hundreds of individuals at Loral that contributed towards the success. And I'd like to thank everyone for their great teamwork, dedication, and focus. I've worked with many manufacturing companies over the years, and I think that Space Systems Loral is one of the most dedicated, capable, and experienced can-do organizations that I've had the pleasure of working for. I'd also like to thank ILS and Khrushchev for providing an earlier launch slot for the Telstar 14R satellite and for all of their excellent support during the Proton launch campaign. This is the first time that I've been here in Baikonur, and I've been very impressed with how the Russians, Americans, and Canadian teams have worked together. Not only are each of the teams very experienced in their own areas, but the interface between the different groups has been very smooth. On a personal level, we've also enjoyed many dinners and barbecues with the Russians, some friendly sports competitions, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Russian space program, and participating in the Russian May 9 Memorial Day Parade. Finally, I'd like to recognize ILS for their excellent work at organizing and coordinating all of the multifaceted logistics for this launch campaign. Many thanks to all. Thank you.
And now an excerpt from the ILS Telstar 14R blog found on ilslaunch.com. This entry is written by ILS Program Director Mike Thie about the mission team viewing of the Progress-M launch. Quote, "And just so you don't think we are all work and no play, we boarded the bus and drove out to Area 31 for the most recent Progress launch, a cargo trip to the ISS aboard a Soyuz launch vehicle, and as always, an incredible sight. The Soyuz U carrier rocket with the Progress-M 10M cargo spacecraft on board lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on Wednesday, April 27th. The Progress-M 10M delivered 2.5 tons of supplies to the International Space Station, including food, propellant, oxygen, and air, water, maintenance, hardware, and various resupply items. To read more blog entries and to stay current with this mission, you can always go to ilslaunch.com and click on Mission Control, and then click on Current Mission. As Russ indicated through communication with the Baikonur control room, we are at the point in the mission now where the BREEZE-M upper stage is just getting started. A total of 5 burns will be required before we get to spacecraft separation. So Russ, bring us up to date on the status of the mission right now.
I am pleased to tell you that we have confirmed the successful completion of the first BREEZE-M burn, and that is the final confirmation we will receive during the course of this broadcast. So everything proceeding nominally, looking good so far.
All right, so that means we are out of touch right now. We just have to wait until some time passes.
That's right. We're heading into the loss of signal period, so that will be after the broadcast for any further updates.
All right, now we saw that Proton go up, so just how fast is an ILS Proton? Well, here's a speed comparison that might put it into context for you. Velocity is the distance per unit time that an object travels in a specified direction. Now, we all know the ILS Proton moves at incredible speeds. That's a given. But just how fast is a Proton rocket exactly? Well, here's a short quiz. At liftoff plus 38 seconds, the Proton matches the velocity of A, a Boeing 747 at cruising speed at 35,000 feet, B, an Indy racing car, C, a Patriot missile. And here's the formula for the answer. 567 miles per hour equals 253 meters per second. And the answer is A, a Boeing 747 at cruising speed at 35,000 feet. At liftoff plus 68 seconds, the Proton matches the velocity of A, thunder, B, lightning, C, a Concorde SST at cruising speed at 60,000 feet. And the scientific solution to this is Mach 2, or twice the speed of sound. The answer, C, a Concorde SST at cruising speed at 60,000 feet. Finally, at liftoff plus 82 seconds, the Proton matches the velocity of A, free fall terminal velocity, B, a Bell X-1 rocket plane piloted by Chuck Yeager, C, an SR-71 Blackbird U.S. reconnaissance jet. At liftoff plus 82 seconds, the Proton is traveling at Mach 3, or 3 times the speed of sound. The answer, C, an SR-71 Blackbird U.S. reconnaissance jet. We'll leave you with this staggering thought about the velocity of the ILS Proton rocket. At maximum velocity, the Proton travels at 4.5 miles per second. Just exactly how fast is that? Well, at that velocity, the Proton can travel from San Francisco, California on the United States West Coast to New York, New York on the United States East Coast in just 9 minutes. Now that's fast. And as we've been talking about, that's only part of the job to get that Proton in the air. Russ, talk to us a little bit about what has to happen now to make that satellite operational.
That is a good question. Let's look at the big picture. Our broadcast takes us through the first BREEZE-M burn. After the broadcast completes, the BREEZE-M will execute 4 more burns before separating the spacecraft into a geosynchronous transfer orbit at 9 hours and 13 minutes into the mission. The ILS Proton will have completed its assignment at that point and will no longer be in control. The spacecraft itself will then have to complete some pre-planned maneuvers over the next several days, which include solar array deployment, reflector deployment, and a series of apogee engine burns to complete the orbit. These burns will bring the orbit inclination down to 0 degrees and raise perigee to match the apogee. resulting in a circular orbit over the equator. Following a period of in-orbit testing, the spacecraft will settle into its operational position and begin to deliver value to the customer.
The mission is going well as expected. Now, a successful liftoff of the ILS Proton at 1:15 a.m. in Baikonur. Telstar 14R is the latest in a long line of successful ILS Proton launches for Telesat. Nimiq 1 in 1999, Nimiq 2 in 2002, Anik F1R in 2005, Anik F3 in 2007, Nimiq 4 in 2008, and Nimiq 5 in 2009. Confirmation of spacecraft separation is expected at 12:28 a.m. Eastern U.S. time and around 10:28 p.m. in Baikonur on May 21st. Remember, you can stay up to date on the Telstar 14R mission and the next launch by visiting the ILS website. It's ilslaunch.com. That website has just been revamped. It is great, so please just take a minute to go over there and check it out. You can also follow us on Twitter and by liking us on Facebook. In the U.S. and Canada, you can also call the ILS launch hotline at 1-800-852-4980 for mission updates. This concludes our live coverage of the ILS Proton BREEZE-M vehicle launch of Telstar 14R Estrella do Sul 2. I would like to thank ILS Program Director Russ Prytula for his updates on the Telstar 14R mission. Thank you so much, Russ.
My pleasure.
And now before we go, we'd like to leave you with one more spectacular look at that liftoff of the ILS Proton rocket with Telstar 14R on board. On behalf of the ILS team and our partners and customers worldwide, I'm Jennifer Gladstone. Thank you for watching.